Thank you very much. That brings us to the second of our new petitions, petition number 1975, reforming the law relating to strategic lawsuits against public participation, SLAPs. And this has been lodged by Roger Mullen, who I understand is with us in the gallery and is the former member of an alternative elective legislative body that sits elsewhere in the United Kingdom. So welcome to the gallery. The petition calls on the Scottish Parliament to urge the Scottish Government to review and amend the law to prevent the use of strategic lawsuits against public participation. The Spice briefing explains that SLAPs is a term to describe court action taken by rich and powerful interests with the intention of silencing critical views, and court action can include defamation and data protection claims. The briefing highlights the Justice Committee's scrutiny of the defamation bill at stage 1. The committee noted a proposal to create an unjustified threats court action and recommended further consideration by the Scottish Government on the issue. Now, currently, both the UK Government and the European Commission are working to strengthen legislation in order to tackle SLAPs. The Scottish Government response to the petition states that it does not intend to undertake a review of SLAPs, stating that the Defamation and Malicious Publications Scotland Act 2021 goes some way to address concerns. The petitioner, Roger Mullen, has provided a written response stating that there has been a lack of recognition of the scale of the problem. He raises concerns about the potential for defamation tourism if Scotland does not keep legislative pace with England, Wales and the European Union. We've also received written submissions from our colleague Michelle Thompson, MSP, the Anti-SLAP Research Hub in the University of Aberdeen and Ecclesia, all supporting the petition. The written submissions echo Roger's concerns and raise some additional issues, such as the importance of investigative journalism, the impact of frivolous litigation on the court system. The submission from Ecclesia highlights the model anti-SLAP law drafted by the UK Anti-SLAP Coalition and its key features. And it urges the Scottish Government to enact similar measures. So an interesting petition and an interesting variation in the way these matters are being pursued. Do members have any comments or suggestions for action? David Torrance?
Thank you, Convener. Can I welcome Roger Milne, who is one of my constituents, to committee today. I wonder if a committee could write to key stakeholders, including the Law Society of Scotland, National Union of Journalists and the Scottish Newspaper Society, seeking their views on the action called in the petition.
Have we agreed on that? Any further thoughts? Mr. Ewing?
Yes, I'm aware of Michelle Thompson's interest in this. I think, in fact, she would have liked to have been here, except she's across the corridor in another committee's meetings. I'm just going to add that it does seem a little bit inconsistent that the Scottish Government are not planning to do more than they've said, in the light that the UK Government are, and so are the EU. And I wonder if we could get a more specific response as to in what way the Scottish Government feel that the defamation law passed fairly recently covers the issue, because the petitioner plainly is of the view that it doesn't recognise the scale of the problem. And of course, the scenario that we're concerned about here is that the UK passes legislation leaving Scotland as the jurisdiction of choice of very rich people who wish basically to attack the freedom of the press using the courts as a shield. And I do not think that is something that we want to see happening in Scotland. And therefore I find the lack of any obvious enthusiasm of the Scottish Government disappointing. But if they do argue that this law that was passed last year is a sufficient shield, then I think we really need a lot more information and response, a lot more of a specific response than we've had at the moment. And just finally, Convener, if we don't get, and I struggle to be an optimist in life, so I hope that I'm wrong, but if we don't get that specific information, then I do think there's a case to have a hearing at which perhaps the petitioner, Aberdeen University academics who have submitted a written response, particularly Professor Borg Barted, who has been a key advisor to the European Union, as well as the Law Society and the Government Minister, might give evidence. In other words, if we are not satisfied by the initial responses, maybe it might be helpful to indicate in the letters to everybody that we are contemplating an inquiry, and therefore we do hope that again, the pencil will have a high lead content when we get the response.
Well, if your glass is usually half empty and mine is usually half full, therein is a full glass that we can hope to achieve.
Working on it. Yeah.
I mean, certainly, I think the fact. I mean, I'm maybe less surprised. He said, trying not to be party political, that they would be rushing to follow the UK government. But I think the fact that the European Union is pursuing a similar legislative solution does leave us as a bit of an outlier and potentially open as a source of comfort to those that I think we least want to potentially assist here. Moreover, I take Mr Ewing's point. I think it's one thing for the Scottish Government to assert that the 2021 legislation will have dealt with matters here. I think we would like to understand how, in fact, we believe that is to be achieved, rather than just being, it being asserted that that is the case. And I agree with Mr Ewing. I think that this is an important issue. I think it's one the committee could pursue further in the light of the evidence we receive, and it would be useful for those people that we are contacting to know that we are minded so to do if we feel that the answers we receive are in the first instance less than persuasive. Mr Sweeney, you look like you seeking to intervene.
Yeah, thanks, Convener. I'm sympathetic to the petition and the public interest of it. I'm also in agreement with the proposed recommendations and actions thus far. Might also be prudent to inform the Delegated Powers and Law Reform Committee of this petition, because I think it is an area of work that that committee has a locus in. Perhaps also discussing with, perhaps also invite the view of the Law Commission, and whether they've done any projects in this area thus far. It's something that usually comes through in a Law Commission bill in this kind of area. It might also be worth, I know the petitioners present, it might also be worth exploring at the Members' Bill route, engaging a sponsoring Member of Parliament to actually pursue this, and the Members' Bill route, also engaging the Non-Government Bills Unit. It might be an opportunity to further drive this agenda, and certainly the petition could help in that regard as well. It's just another avenue by which Parliament can give effect to this.
I'm happy to pursue all those things. I mean, I hesitate now on the Members' Bill thing simply because, as a member of the corporate body, I know we have a record number of these before us in this Parliament already, and I struggle to see how we're going to actually, before 2026, get round to considering them. But I think certainly the other suggestions in the first instance we would want to pursue. Mr Sweeney?
It was just to note, Convener, whilst I accept the point about parliamentary time, the ideal solution would be if groundwork was done through the Members' Bill route. The government might adopt the legislation and give government time to progress it, and that would help cajole them a bit. As
Mr Ewing, his glass is half empty and mine is half full. Maybe that will that will find a successful outcome. But I think we are agreed that we think the issues raised in the petition are matters we want to pursue, and we've had detailed ways in which we will do so. I can tell the petitioner will have heard all of that.